Hello, and welcome to another edition of Cheers PA Beer Talk, where we scour the state of Pennsylvania for interesting stories and those individuals that are helping push our industry forward, both professionally and just interpersonally, excellent people. And today, I'm really excited to share this space with a couple, not just any couple, but a couple that started a brewery together in Mechanicsburg. And the story how they got there is tremendous. So I don't want to ruin too much with an introduction, but I'm thrilled to welcome Derek and Elaine Wolf from Wolf Brewing in Mechanicsburg. And normally we start with the beer that got you into, brewing and like what that was. But did you have a professional beer, or for you, Derek, was it when you started making beer? Is that what really hooked you and made you want to start down this path where eventually you are here today?
Yeah, I would say a lot of my inspiration was in college in Selinsgrove, the Selinsgrove Brew Pub. Tasting small batch creations was just, it was amazing to see what you buy in the store. And in college, you're buying Natty, Keystone, Lion's Head, a lot of beer that doesn't have much flavor. And I was all about trying to go to the brew pub and taste the new stuff that he has, a lot of English inspired beers. And really opened my eyes to brewing. And that's what led me to start home brewing in 2011. Once I graduated college, a friend gave me a Mr. Beer kit. I tried brewing and then just made some kits, and then eventually went to all, from scratch. And it never looked back. It was something we just started entering competitions, and it was a amazing journey, but it was a lot of fun just getting started on the homebrew scale. I think that really makes you appreciate how it's a very rudimentary art, but you can also make it as much of into chemistry and science as you want. But it's also a very simple, a great hobby, and it's a lot of fun, but you can really make it complicated. And but it's one of those things that it's expressing your own art and creativity, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Selinsgrove pub. The ceilings could not get lower in there, but the ambiance is electric. I mean, I love popping into that place. And usually it was always snowy outside, and it just made it even better. Like the worse the weather was outside made the pub better, but I digress. Elaine, what about you? Was there a beer back when you first started experiencing beer that got you into craft beer, or is this all Derek's fault?
Geez, I don't know. I mean, it is partially all Derek's fault, but I mean, I know it's more of a macro beer, but Guinness, for example, was just such
excellent beer. No, not yet. There's no wrong answers to this question. And I think that like the one that made you fall in love, it doesn't matter why, it's your story. So Guinness is solid. Yeah.
And I mean, we went on a trip to Ireland pretty early on in our marriage, and we just went over there, and you heard the Guinness story. And I mean, they signed like a 9,000-year lease essentially for the building that they were in. And it just showed how, a family-owned business could become such a big thing, and they believed in themselves, and it was a multi-generational, business. It was just kind of really inspiring to see their story and the care that they put into it and everything like that. And then to see it grow to the scale that it was is, pretty incredible. I mean, it's just even cool to see locally, like the Trogner brothers taking their idea to such a huge level. It's just really neat to see.
Well, it's amazing that you had that moment to see something and see it so clearly as an inspiration for you. So would you say then that's kind of really where the idea of we want to open a brewery one day came from, and like seeing that like it's possible, like a family brewery could grow and be something as great as that is?
Well, I mean, you started home brewing, and family and friends were like, oh, this is really good, you should sell this. And that's when we got the idea to kind of start entering competitions and stuff like that to get unbiased feedback from complete strangers. Everybody.
Your family and friends will always tell you it's good, but you got to check their cups like a half hour later and see what exactly went down. And that's where you get your real feedback. So, so you started entering contests, you're winning contests, you're placing, medaling all across the country. Why was it so important to win in every state before you opened a brewery? Was that partly you wanted to get, more experience? Was it something about where you were at professionally and not being ready to make that transition? Take us there to, why you decided on a slower burn when you decided to open a brewery?
Well, I know you always wanted to open your own business, and she said, your beers are tasting pretty good. I want to give you a goal to win 5 awards. Doesn't matter where, they have to be a BJCP or AHA sanctioned competition. A month later, we had 5 awards, and she said, we need a lot more time. So now I'm going to give you the goal to do one in every single state. It's crazy. I just said, this is unbelievable. I don't know how I'm ever going to even start to figure this out. But luckily, the BJCP and AHA website has every state, every competition, and we would just brew. I would brew a beer, and whatever I had available, I'd ship to a state and cross my fingers. So it was mainly about, she wanted me to brew when I was sick. I was tired. I didn't want to because it was eventually going to become a job if this was something that we wanted to do. So it really pushed me. She helped with logistics. She must bottle on Tuesday to ship to Idaho by Thursday for the competition next week. So a lot of the logistics she really helped with. But what was nice is there's beers I've never brewed again. I brewed it once. It was just a style I wanted to try and just wanted to see how well it would do. Like Scottish Shilling 60, ales you don't see very often. And it was,
No.
I was like, well, I'm going to try it, see how it does. And surprisingly, it would win a medal. And it was mainly about the unbiased feedback.
And we're not huge risk takers either. So that's kind of why it took us a while to get to this moment. We just wanted to be sure that, finances are in check and that, it's a solid product as much as it can be, and that it's received well within the community and everything like that. So we're just not big gamblers or risk takers. So we just wanted to make sure that it was like a solid plan before we moved forward.
Absolutely. It makes total sense. I just remember moving here, like 6 years ago, and seeing your setup at the Market of Curiosities and being like, I've been here a couple months. How did I not know about this brewery? And I'm like, wait, you're a home brewer? It didn't make sense to me because everything about your setup and your brand, like it was so legit. And now hearing it sounds like, Elaine, that was all you. Like you saw the value in building the business. You told Derek to go brew and get better. And like when those two things reached the level that, all right, we can do this, then you were ready to move forward. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a more conservative approach to jumping into a venture as large as a business is. And I would actually applaud you that your diligence and time allowed you to land in this opportunity where you're at right now. And I'm fascinated by how that all came together, and just being from a business side, the linchpin or anchor to such a growing population base with that neighborhood, but also with just what Mechanicsburg is already. It's fascinating. Would you care to share any of that?
I mean, yeah, Mechanicsburg is, a small town and not a whole lot going on, but it's our hometown and we absolutely love it. So we just always wanted to open a brewery in our hometown and give back to essentially the town that raised us. We want to have fair living wages for our staff who come from the Mechanicsburg area, and we want to source our ingredients as much as possible from local Mechanicsburg farms. And, so it's that hyper local. We want to give back to the local community who essentially raised us. So
supporting charitable organizations. We have a Fight for a Cause every month. $1 of every beer flight will go to a local charity, and trying to keep it as much local as we can. I know there's a lot of nationwide charities that are very important that we want to support as well, but we're trying to focus on as much of the central Pennsylvania as we can to try to give back. And it's nice when people come in and they buy a flight, it's $1, and it's not like that you're bombarding them to say, hey, you need to donate to this charity. It's just, hey, you want to get a beer flight, $1 of it happens to go to a charity. We thought it was an easy way for somebody to donate, and they're not getting it, shoved down their throat. It's like everywhere you go now, it's would you donate to this charity, donate to that charity. So
I think that there's a tact to how you do it. And I really appreciate just the different organizations that you've supported in just you've only been open, 5-6 months at this point?
May 5th was our opening day.
So, just in such a limited time to see how tight you are running the food program and, how committed you are locally with, purchasing of ingredients, as well as supporting the community. The Leaf Project is doing tremendous work and can't get enough exposure, in my opinion. And so to give them that platform as your brewery's opening up to your community, it's nice. And now seeing this month's Hops for Hunger, it's a really interesting, PA Eats is doing some tremendous work helping the food insecure Pennsylvanians. And would you do you have any thoughts on that program, or how do you choose the different charities that you support each month?
So we try to keep it local as much as possible. So trying to avoid some of the larger, nationwide charitable organizations. So we try to just keep it local as much as we can. And it's really just giving back to the charities that, interest us and our staff. We get them involved as well. They've suggested many programs locally because some of the smaller ones you don't really hear about, but a lot of times they can be the most impactful. So we really reach out to them and ask for their feedback as well. And then, on our website, different charitable organizations can fill out a form to be considered for upcoming months that we have available. But yeah, we heard about the Hops for Hunger program through breweries in PA and through PA Eats and whatnot, and heard that they're basically trying to stock Pennsylvania food pantries as much as they can. So definitely an important cause. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that what they're doing in starting this statewide initiative and working with breweries that all are so committed to food and quality of ingredients already. So it's a natural connection, but then to utilize just the popularity and just the jovial and camaraderie that comes from being at a brewery and just being able to support in many different ways. I just think that it's a great cause this year with their kickoff, and I'm excited to see it in years to come. On your tap list, Derek, you have a wide variety for everyone, and I'm talking about huge tap list. Why was it so important for you to have such a representative tap list? Is that from your background of brewing all these different styles and just the years of perfecting all your recipes? Or are you starting now that you have the brewery open to have to be more committed to the trends of what's going on and starting to have to sacrifice some of those tap handles?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I wanted to have something on tap for every single person that walked through the door. Whether if they don't drink alcohol, we have sodas, teas, various other non-alcoholic beverages. But as far as across the board, a lot of breweries, you'll go and you'll just see stouts, sours, IPAs. A lot of people, want to drink something that's a little bit more smooth, drinkable, lagers, pilsners. So I wanted to make sure I had something that was for everybody's taste buds. A lot of the recipes I made, for the competitions, some of them I haven't even made again, but there's been beers I've scaled up, and there's been beers I've just made a brand new recipe. Our Dusk Till Dawn Dark Czech Lager was a brand new recipe that seems to be doing really well. It's a style that I've always wanted to make. A lot of the lagers and pilsners I just never made at home because I didn't have fermentation control. Yeah. And I could have built a box and coolers, that kind of thing. But a lot of the
it seems like you were busy enough at that time. You started building.
A lot of the trying to build things and spend money elsewhere. I kept things very rudimentary, and I used plastic fermenters and a 7-gallon pot and an electric Genair stovetop, electric coil. And an igloo cooler for mashing in. So I knew that if I didn't have the control and I didn't have the fancy equipment, the beer would hopefully get better as we built our brewery and then spent money on the nice equipment. So it really was a good eye-opening experience going from trying to make things that are very simple to then go to a big brewery where you can control your temperatures. And that gives you a lot of variety and a lot of beer styles that you can brew and hopefully get them to where people enjoy them. And, it's one of those that you never know. There could be a beer style that you make that somebody may not want to drink, but then they try it and like, oh my gosh, this opens my eyes to, I didn't realize that a beer could taste like this. We have an India Pale Pilsner. I thought I want to make an IPA, but a Pilsner, just make it hoppier and see if people really enjoy it. So we have an experimental series that we try new things all the time, new hops, new ingredients, new techniques, new yeast. And that's a really cool way to see people trying something that's different. They may be coming in drinking Coors Light, Miller Lite typically, so they'll drink our Golden Gaze Cream Ale, but they may try a flight and try some beers that they typically don't taste. A fruited sour, they may think, well, I don't like sour. So I was like, well, do you like fruit smoothies? Well, absolutely. It's like, just think of it as lemonade. It's tart. It's not vinegar, and I think people see sour and they think it's going to be extremely sour and it's not going to be enjoyable to drink. But it's great to have a wide variety for people.
I blame the marketplace for that because those beers are best served at the place that they're made, kept there. You can't really package and have them sitting around for so long that it's a bad representation for trying to grow styles, among consumers, when what they're finding in grocery stores now, and before that with the distributors, things like that don't move as fast. And so if you find something that's been in an untemperature controlled room for a long time, it's going to be terrible. And then you're going to be like, well, why would I pay that much? It tastes terrible. And so I'm glad that you're hearing the feedback and changing some, perspectives of, the local community, because I have found it to be a very, Coors Light, Miller Lite, there are people around here that appreciate craft beer, but it seems like light lager and lager are the two most popular beers in this area. And if they're coming in there and getting to experience something different, you're doing the Lord's work. And I appreciate that. You two are doing great work spreading the styles, because we need more people to put an IPL on tap right next to a fruit smoothie, and having nitro lines with s'more stouts and all these amazing different beers that deserve a chance to be served fresh and get a great experience of them. How has having the foeders allowed you to really play around and do some fun things?
They're really nice. It's like you're messing around with 8 barrels, but you have 1 tank. So it's a lot easier as far as logistics if you don't have forklifts and trying to experiment. But I really love what Foeder Crafters does in Missouri. They make beautiful, beautiful tanks. So we wanted to have that as a focal point of our brewery. So when you pull up, you see 3 wooden foeders in our window. One of them is just for farmhouse ales. I'm keeping everything clean for the first couple of years, so no bacteria yet. But for the saisons and farmhouse ales, sometimes I'll use some of those yeast that'll add acidity, but it's not bacteria. One's just for lagers, so I'm only going to be doing dark check lagers, what's in there right now, the Dusk Till Dawn. And the S'more Stout was the first one I used in our dark char foeder. So we have 2 light toasts and a dark toast to try to, that one's going to be mainly for stouts and porters and brown ales to add a little bit more of a charred character to it. But you can really add a nuance to a beer that you typically won't get in a stainless tank, especially on the lagers. You really get this nice marshmallow, vanilla, little mild oak character to the beer that just kind of smooths it out. It adds almost like a smoother mouthfeel to it, a rounder mouthfeel to it. Whereas you make it in stainless, it's still going to have that similar flavor. It just kind of rounds it out, makes it more mellow.
Yeah, I find beers in stainless are blocks, and whereas a beer that gets a little bit of time with wood or nature or a little bit of both, it softens those edges and just makes it such a more enjoyable. It's not that the other beer was bad; it's just it brings out things or adds things, or maybe it's a little of both. You would know better than I, but it's so nice to see that you have committed to bending flavors in that direction and having a program. What kind of richer notes did you notice with the dark char in that? Because I think a s'more stout and playing with some of those flavors of the charred marshmallows, did it amplify and really give you just like over the top flavors of what you were looking for?
Yeah, it added a nice, almost campfire-esque, a little bit of a smokiness and a little bit of a, the s'mores is a sweet beer. It does have a little bit of roast character to it to balance it, but the foeder really helped to add a dimension to it that you wouldn't get in a stainless tank. And it just added almost essentially a barrel-aged flavor very quickly. So I may have had the beer in there for 5 weeks, and it would have tasted similar to having something in a barrel for 6 months. Wow. There's a lot of surface area on these tanks, so you really get a lot of oaky flavor quickly. I mean, I steam the heck out of these things to clean them, so I am ripping tannins out, but that was what made me most nervous. The first beer going in this tank, it's going to be like someone's chewing on tree bark. So I wanted to make sure I steamed it enough, took out the tannins, and then it was ready for the beer. But it is interesting to see how you can really alter flavors from beers. A lot of IPAs, you wouldn't think you should put one in a foeder, but I've been reading some local breweries have tried it, where it kind of smooths out your edges on a double IPA. That's usually you have to let it sit for a couple weeks just until it's, the greenness goes away and it's ready to be consumed, where the foeder will add a minor amount of oxygen to help mellow out some of those edges that the beer may stale quicker because of it being in a foeder, but you would hope that your IPAs are being consumed pretty quickly and they stay fresh. So that's my next experiment. I want to do an IPL, but in that lager foeder, and see how it turns out, and see if I can get some of that nice little nuance. Because then on a light lager, I think you're going to get really neat character. Whereas a lot of the darker beers, the saisons, there's so much going on in the yeast in the saison that kind of covers some of those little nuances. But if it's a clean, crisp pilsner with some hoppiness, I think that would really add a nice character where people will really pick up that it was in a wooden tank.
Yeah, I think that there's already enough dimension to a saison that it's really hard to, without overdoing it and then losing the beer entirely. So having something that starts off so tight and crisp and then allowing it to mellow slightly, yeah, I can't wait to see what comes out of that. So if you don't have a beer in 6 months called Rippin' Tannins, then I am just going to be very disappointed in you both, because I can't stop thinking of Rippin' Tannins ever since you said, like, how can I go rip some tannins later? But
Rippin' Tannins, I like it.
I mean, you said it's yours, not mine. I'm just appreciating the art, man. I'm just watching. I'm sitting here at the knee and just saying, wow, that's amazing. How does he do it? It just flies right off the tongue. So, Archer Pup, how has being the brewery dog and little wolf in the big wolf family, has it gone to his or her head, or is it like just unmanageable at this point?
He thinks he runs this place.
Okay. That's amazing. Brewery dog, I understand the health and safety part of it, but it's so nice to see a dog committed to a brewery. I just think it's such a great experience. But
yeah, we make sure he's not here during, when we're operational, and, but when customers are gone, and, at the end of the day, at the nighttime, you can run around and see if any of the servers or bartenders missed a French fry on the floor. So he's always excited to run around and check out, see what wasn't cleaned up.
Cleans up the patio and whatnot.
Hey, it's great to have him willing to do the work while he's there. So with all those years of events, you have to have some pretty good stories or some not so good stories. But do you have anything that stands out of just, hilarious, or just a time where you're like, I cannot believe that we're still doing these events? And did you miss beer festivals like during the pandemic, or were you happy to have a little reprieve of not having the event circuit going on while you were trying to ramp up the brewery?
I mean, initially we were doing, how many were we doing?
Probably 12 to 14, I'd say, a year.
Yeah.
So at least one a month.
Yeah.
And we always would take 4 to 6 different beers. So I was brewing probably more than I am now, because I was brewing 6 to 7 beers for each event, where, there's some weeks that I'm brewing 3 or 4 times, but, you're brewing such a large batch. We would take one small batch and that would be it. But there were a lot of great festivals. I can't really think of one I'd say they're.
Well, police had to get involved.
Oh yeah, what was that? The farm show complex.
No, at the Roar Dang.
Oh yeah.
Someone had cut the line and it just caused, an altercation. So well, ironically or coincidentally, 2 security guards were walking past our line right as it happened, but these 2 gentlemen were just getting into it over this line cut, and I whispered to Derek, go get the security guard. So that was an interesting moment. But initially with the whole lockdown, quarantining and everything, it was a nice break from having to do fests and not have to pack up the car and travel a couple times a month or so. But I would say I miss it at this point.
Yeah, we definitely missed it, but it was nice. We were, constructing a building, and the amount of, when you're building something, you have to babysit everybody. They're all adults, they know what they're doing, but they may think some ways a better way than what was supposed to be done. And so you're here every day trying to, it's sad that you have to micromanage it all, but it was a crazy process, and the amount of attention that we had to have every day. One of us had to be here double checking on everything, because once something's completed and they don't do it the way that you were hoping, it's a change order, and you're going to have to pay to get it fixed and done a different way. So we tried to make sure we weren't having many change orders because we overlooked something or didn't pay attention to something. So that was a big eye-opening experience for sure. But it gave us a lot more time to really think about exactly what we wanted to create and what we wanted to open with. But we did miss the fest, because it's just great to see. a bunch of people together at an event, and people were enjoying themselves. And really the whole reason that we did Wolf Brewing was because we like to see people smile and enjoy themselves. So we opened this so people can come in and enjoy themselves, and something that we just love to entertain growing up and having friends and family over. So this is our time now that we can entertain, whenever we're open, Wednesday to Sunday for now, but it's been a whirlwind, but we've been enjoying every day of it. We're blessed and thankful that this has all come to fruition.
And it's
I'm sorry.
It's so cool to like change people's opinions on beer too. They might think that they have a certain style that they stick to, and you just hand them a taster of something else and say, well, try this. You said you like red wines and this and that, we'll try this. And then next thing you know, they're drinking a fruited sour and absolutely love it. So it's just really cool to kind of change people's opinions. And
the wildest, there's a lady probably in her 60s that she says, I've been drinking Miller Lite for decades, but I love your triple IPA.
What?
My head about blew up. I was like, she was drinking our Aussie, oi, oi, oi. It's a 100% Big Secret hop triple IPA. We opened with it, and it was probably the first or second week. And I was in the brewery working on something, and one of the servers came and grabbed me and just said, this lady wants to talk to you. She's a Miller Lite drinker, but loves your triple IPA. And I was like, quit pulling my leg. It's really cool to see people that ordinarily would not try a beer like that because they think it's too hoppy, too bitter. But when they taste it, they think, well, I just taste fruitiness. It's not as bitter as what I would expect. Just because their mindset is anything that's IPA means that I'm going to get bitter beer face and going to burn my throat and upset my stomach.
And that goes back to just poor representations and finding things out in the market that just are not to the what they should be, as a false representation of the style that they are there for. And I imagine that you had that triple IPA just so velvety and soft, and it was not even any kind of conflict to that woman's palate. So I commend you for putting literal love and care into making beers like that and changing those minds, because we need more of that as the state continues to grow and more breweries opening. We're only going to go so far until we get into consumer education and really allowing individuals to experience, greatness, and to look at what the Trogs did and how they really helped put the state on the map and, move them, the state away from Yuengling in terms of it can be more for beer. And then just everyone else having to figure out, well, how do we do that too? And then just the learning curve and all that. I really feel like we're coming into a time where the education level of the people coming in and the craft and the interest, they're all at a point where now we can really see it just go nuts with it if we can overcome seltzer.
Yeah. If we can overcome seltzer, that's
a different show though. We're not doing that show here, Derek. This is the Overcome Seltzer talk is for a different day. This is Cheers and PA Beer Talk only. But I do appreciate both your time. Please let everyone know where they can find you two or Wolf Brewing or whatever you want on social media, or check out the website or any fun things you have coming up that you'd like to promote.
So we're located in Mechanicsburg, off of South Market Street. So stop by and visit us. We're on social media. All channels are basically at Wolf Brew Co. And our website is wolfbrewingco.com. You can get our hours and operational information on there. You can see our menu, our food menu, beer menu, all that on our website. And with Thanksgiving Eve, we're going to have a raw bar coming up, which will be a fun event our culinary team put together. So we're very excited for that. And we'll be doing some beer dinners down the road and brunch hopefully down the road. So we're very excited to debut all of that.
Yeah, we should have some posts coming out later today. I'm going to work on some half beers. We have our New Moon Stout, which is like a Guinness. We have a Golden Gaze Cream Ale, a Stokel Pilsner, and a Check the Forest. So we're going to do, Check the Moon, Golden Moon, Stokel Moon, and we have Pumpkin Ale on Nitro. So we thought we should do a Golden Pumpkin. So Pumpkin Ale on top with a Golden Gaze Cream Ale below. So we're going to try to hopefully introduce some of those tomorrow. And I think our Wolfski Sour that we have, it's a whiskey sour. We're going to add some cranberry to it for a nice holiday flair. But should be a crazy week, but we're looking forward to seeing a bunch of excited people coming out and consuming some great food and some great beer.
Well, best of luck to you both on your first pre-Thanksgiving Wednesday, and I hope for nothing but great joy for you. And Elaine, thank you for your vision and just business acumen, and knowing that there was a diamond in the rough there with Derek. He just had to really get those beers dialed in and, win all of the nation's beer awards, and then we can enjoy them as consumers. So check out Wolf Brewing Company in Mechanicsburg. Derek and Elaine, thank you so much for your time today. Archer Pup, you stole the show, you rascal. Thank you so much to you both, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You got it. And now we're going to transition quickly to our beer review for the month. This month, I'm excited. It is barley wine season, and we are reviewing Weyerbacher's Blithering Idiot. It is a classic staple, been around forever, and it'll be around forever because you can lay these bottles down and they only get better up to 5 years, really, in developing some of those flavors and softening. So check them out. Blithering Idiot. It's a big bottle. It's meant to be shared this time of year, and you're not going to be disappointed. It's good for sharing and sipping and post-dinner campfires, and at 11.1%, probably better that way. So I want to thank our friends at Wise Markets, and of course, Derek and Elaine Wolf from Wolf Brewing in Mechanicsburg for joining us today. Check out our other interviews on YouTube, or you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. It's Cheers PA Beer Talk. You can like it, subscribe, support us, tell your friends. Just keep doing what you're doing, and if you enjoy it, tell someone else that you do as well. We appreciate all your time. Thank you to everyone in Wise Markets. Until next time, cheers, PA.